One of my favorite 60s roughies was the nasty little gem called Aroused. It wears its psycho influences on its sleeve, but adds enough new stuff to make it well worth a look. And between you and me, I think it might have influenced the Bill Lustig classic Maniac. The director of Aroused was Anton Holden, and before he transitioned away from directing, he left the 70s drive-in crowd with a little slice of nasty. And it wasn't from Domino's. Welcome to Exploitation Reviews, and me, Rob, and today I'm taking a look at Teenage Tramp from 1973. The poster of this thing is pretty misleading. Packed bags, smiling face, a tagline that reads, "Don't pass her up, she's looking for more than a ride." You would be forgiven for thinking this would be a fun, hitchhiking romp with a gal willing to barter for rides. Brother, you would be wrong. So very wrong. Instead, this is a movie about a girl trying to escape from a Charles Manson-inspired cult of hippies, which is almost worse than a normal cult of hippies. And the whole thing is pretty mean-spirited. There are no smiles in this movie, except for mine, so let's check it out. We open on a tramp, Kim, and her boyfriend getting a ride from this trucker. But since it's a rental truck, it looks like the production couldn't convince a real truck driver to be in the movie. If you can't even get a guy who pays lot lizards to be in your movie, you're making some trash. And I'm here for it. So the tramp says the guy scares her, the boyfriend says they don't have a choice, and then he hops in the back, leaving her in the cab with the guy she's afraid of. This is not ideal boyfriend behavior. He shouldn't have dismissed her concerns, but made eye contact and nodded. Signs of active listening. Chicks love it when you validate their feelings.
Tell me about it, sweetheart.
And I often say it's cool that low-budget films give us a look at what America was like back in the day, because they filmed out in the world instead of in the studios. Well, that cuts both ways. This film reminds me of how ugly America can be. Look at this Strode. They were awful back in the 70s, they're awful now. They are the worst kind of... At this point in the video, I launched into a diatribe about car-centric city planning in North America and how bad it is for quality of life. This goes on for quite a while. I complain about the lack of trees, the lack of sidewalks, and the absurdity of putting parking lots in front of stores instead of behind them. And then I mention how even though I live in a metropolitan area of over 10 million people, I shop on a street that doesn't allow cars at all and has plenty of trees and is only 3 blocks from my apartment. Not sure what point I was trying to make there. Let's get back to the review. Anyway, back to the movie. Our gal was right to be afraid of the truck driver. He pulls over and makes sure she's not at all thirsty by giving her a tall glass of grape soda. High fructose corn syrup. Naturally, this is nothing you can see here on YouTube.
Man, I just work here.
But of course, we don't have to stay here. Support the channel on Patreon and get access to uncensored, spicy versions of my reviews. Link is in the description. And then, strippers! You can't see that either, of course, but the music is funky enough to inspire some of the gals to shake it like a Polaroid picture. Some people come in, if you think hippies count as people, and find some seats. There's no dialogue in this scene though, so we don't learn who these people are before we're back with our tramp. That's some fine filmmaking there, Anton. And then we're in a house where a woman is arguing with her boyfriend. Who are these people? Well, we don't figure that out either before we're back with the tramp. Fine filmmaking there, Anton. Kim and her boyfriend get out of the Ryder truck, and then we hop right back to the hippie gang in the strip club. Who edited this thing? Oh, yeah, that's some fine filmmaking there, Anton. But this time we learn some stuff. They are a cult, and their messianic leader is looking for a chick, and he's looking for her to get back some money, I think. Okay, so we almost have a plot here. I just really wish the movie had made this clearer how these 3 groups are connected. The tramp and the hippies and then the lady with the boyfriend. Referring to the characters by names would have been useful. I mean, the tramp's boyfriend could have said, "We don't have a choice. Kim, and then the hippie gang leader could have said, I'm going to find Kim and get my money back. And then the lady could have said, my sister Kim called, and before she gets here, I want you wearing pants. The movie doesn't do this, though, so we're kind of in the dark for a good portion of the opening of the film. So when Kim shows up at her sister's, we learn that they have lost their parents, and the sister has been running things. Kim wants half of what the parents left behind, and the sister says this will take some time to figure out since the money is tied up in paintings and a trust fund. Kim, desperate for money and nowhere else to go, decides to stay. So now, 20 minutes into a 75-minute long movie, we've got a pretty good idea about what's going on and who everyone is. Although, Kim's boyfriend has inexplicably disappeared from the story, so this thing still isn't going to win any awards for writing. Oh, spoke too soon. Kim goes skinny dipping. All is forgiven. That's some fine filmmaking there, Anton. The sister isn't too excited about Kim being so free in front of the boyfriend. Oh, and then we find out where Kim's boyfriend is. He's in the bushes somewhere close by. And we learn that he knew the truck driver would do what he did. In fact, he had set the whole thing up as a way to pay. And then, as payback, I guess, Kim goes inside and seduces her sister's boyfriend.
Bunch of degenerates.
Well, before too long, that hippie gang after Kim will find her, and that's going to cause all kinds of problems. I mean, hippie infestations are hard to deal with, but that's enough out of me as far as plot goes. Let's talk some highlights. Well, this is a sleazy, bleak, and mean-spirited movie, and those are three of my favorite kinds of movie. Alicia Fontaine is great as Kim, aside from being rather attractive. At times, she reminds me a bit of Margot Robbie, at other times, a bit of Barbara Crampton. And like both of those, she's also a pretty good actor. This was not an easy role, and she did a fine job. She's charming and playful at times, and handles the more emotional scenes well. I'm honestly pretty surprised she didn't have a bigger career. I also like how mean the movie gets. Anton Holden was clearly comfortable making the audience very uncomfortable, and I really appreciate that in a director. Makes me wish he had done more movies. Finally, the film is a good time capsule of some 70s fashion, if that's your thing. Overall, this movie is almost very good, but despite the clothes and the good lead and enough sadism to make me happy, it's far from perfect. Like a boyfriend being less than ideal, this film has some shortcomings. Well, like I mentioned before, the movie gets off to a confusing, rough start. This was partly the fault of the editor. Putting the dialogue-less scene of the hippies where he did was just a mistake. But a big problem was with the script. It just didn't do a good job of setting up the story. The film starts in medias res, which is fine, of course, but it doesn't immediately answer some important questions. Who are these people? What's going on? What happened before? It takes about a half hour until all of this snaps into place, and that's too long. Admittedly, the print that survives of this thing is in pretty rough shape. There are sections where bits of dialogue are clearly missing.
Mine, and then we'll see. Definitely so.
Oh, rest of them! You know, Skip was right!
Who used to say, what's yours is mine? Well, yes, indeed.
So maybe there was some stuff removed from the beginning that would address my complaint, but I doubt it. Finally, when the hippies invade her house, the sister's behavior strains credulity.
Something is happening here. I don't know what to do.
Don't know what to do? If you want mostly harmless people dead, call the cops.